Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology Update for February 24th to March 3rd, 2025. Well, we are coming up on a Pisces New Moon this week. Very powerful, happening at 9 degrees Pisces, 41 minutes. We have a huge lineup of planets in Pisces, and this new moon happening on Thursday, February 27th, 28th, at 9 degrees. The 9 is telling us something, and all these energies in Pisces saying we are completing the Piscean Age. This time is about really dropping the old trauma, control-based stories and moving forward into something completely new. So we've got the Sun and Mercury in Pisces, and we also have Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node. So the moon will be also in Pisces for this new moon. So this lining up of energies in Pisces with a new moon at 9 degrees is giving us a very powerful opportunity to turn the corner on the past. So let's talk this through. One of the main energies we're feeling right now, which is bringing a very uncertain feeling of unrest, and this is Mars turning direct. Mars turned direct on the 24th, and but is just kind of hanging out there. It takes a while for Mars to get moving again after a retrograde. Mars is at 17 degrees of Cancer and will make it to 18 degrees on March 9th. So the energy has changed, but we haven't quite started moving in a new direction because Mars is our main action planet. And so that's the energy of what's happening. We are being called into action. And we know that it has to be a whole new, different way. That this Mars retrograde has been an initiation. We're not complete with this. Mars won't come out of retrograde shadow until April. And so we have some time where now that Mars is going to have its third and final trek over that last part of Cancer, opposing Pluto, and moving into the sign of Leo. Move into the sign of Leo on the 19th of April. And so that is a very big energy of a triumphant return, coming back into the light of expression. Everything is about what has been bottled up and hidden, suppressed, repressed, now coming to the surface. And this has to do with Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini also has just turned direct, well, at the beginning of February. And so Jupiter is still at 11 degrees where it turned where it began its retrograded back to, and went into retrograde shadow, and will make it to 12 degrees on the 26th of February. So that's a big marker where we're going from that Jupiter is moving again. Jupiter moving again for the third pass through this part of Gemini is calling forward that voice, that expression. Now, this is so much of what is coming forward because Mercury just triggered the square between Jupiter and Saturn. Now, Mercury came up to a square with Jupiter in Gemini on the 20th and 21st of February, and now on the 25th and 26th coming into a conjunction with Saturn. So this is part of the energy of the lining up of this for this new moon in Pisces. So Mercury coming together with Saturn after just having a square with Jupiter just now direct is informing us. And the information that's coming forward is because Mercury is our understanding, it's our perspective. And so when Mercury comes and joins with other planets, then we're looking for a deeper and more true understanding. Completely different perspective is really, but the perspective that we need to adjust to, because these are immutable signs, is that Mars and Sagittarius. So when Mars took that retrograde in Sagittarius in November and December, that he made 3 squares with Jupiter and Saturn. So triggering that square. now the planets are no longer in exact square, but Mercury is hitting it from the next angle, catching up to the sign of Pisces at the same time as the Sun, North Node, and Saturn and Neptune being there. And so it's very, very powerful. Mercury in Pisces coming up to Saturn, because now Mercury is informing Saturn about what the new timeline is about, which has to do with the epic quest, which we got pulled off of long ago. But we never left the quest. We're still on the quest. We forgot we were on a quest. We forgot how big, powerful, beautiful spiritual beings that have been on an epic journey of spiritual evolution and the ascension of Mother Earth. you know, and now we're back in alignment as her warriors because of this Mars retrograde. So Mars at that 17-degree Cancer for this last week. Wow, excruciating, intense emotions. This feeling of just the ego death, the maybe feeling like this lack of inertia of being able to move forward on anything in life because everything seems out of alignment, and just being forced to find ourselves down in the dirt where Mother can hold us again. And so now that that warrior, our masculine within, is fully and truly realigned with Mother, gone through the battlefield, you know fought for life, and then coming back to understanding what the fight and what the life is really about. So now that we're fully aligned, this is so huge, because it's only then that we can step into the power we have as co-creators. And that's part of the expression of what Jupiter and Gemini wants to bring forward, is the truth of who we are. This is an interesting dynamic happening for supernova souls, where we're getting to the end of our rope of tolerance, and a really big shift from looking for any kind of approval, communication, even validation on any level of your life, your dreams, who you are, from the outside world. Not possible right now. Just, it's like this massive kind of like, whoa, like grind to a halt. All of this busyness and business, ego business, right? That we've been sucked into to try to survive. Like trying to convince people that we're okay, trying to convince people of the dream, trying to heal, trying to move energy, trying to survive as who we are in the big light, which is such a gift. There's no negative to the light that you are. That was the inside out, upside down Piscean Age, right? Now we're going to turn that shit around. And it's happening. Can't do anything about it. But that's why things are so strange, because, it's turning upside down in order to come back out right. And it's really interesting because I saw this video of like little magnets stuck together, and if you all these magnets in the line of polarity, and if you flip the one magnet at the end, it'll start flipping. And at first it's just like this, and then it gets kind of crazy. Then it makes a 90-degree angle before it comes back out straight. And I just think this is such a powerful picture of exactly the geometry of the pyramids and the timeline of our spiritual evolution. And we're at the place of the 90-degree turn, just before we go to a new level where it straightens out. Leading up to that 90-degree turn, it's like, and chaos flying everywhere, no form, then stuck in the wrong form, then the right form. So I don't know if that metaphor helps, but it seemed to really help me understand, oh, okay, that's where we're at, because we're having a pole shift, right? But what if that magnetic pole shift is just within our own being? Simply coming back home into communication and connection in our electromagnetic field with Mother Earth. Because when we do that, we understand that gravity isn't gravity. Gravity is polarity. And we can change our polarity. And we can levitate. Okay, then we understand how they built all these buildings that they didn't want us to see, hidden in under the mountain ranges all over the world. And it's a beautiful discovery. And it feels like these are the types of things that Jupiter and Gemini is bringing forward. Like, we need the whole truth about who we are. We need the whole truth about how these incredible buildings were built with such precision that we still can't do today with all of our technologies, you know? And so we're at an exciting time, a precipice of where humanity takes back its power through understanding its history, understanding the truth, and understanding the deliberate resets, taking away our advanced technology, taking away our history, taking away our knowledge of who we are, shortening our lifespan. It's just been a long held set of very specific agendas to make sure we never ascend so they can continue to feed on us. We are a power generator for those control forces because they don't have access to their own source energy. See this? And we know we can't go into the Aquarian age if we're leaking out our source energy that's been bestowed upon us as this great, beautiful gift. How about we start owning it and live in mutual reciprocity and gratitude and growing and blooming and supporting each other to grow and bloom? Because what's happened with the patriarchal control based structures is that it's about taking the creation energy, what's life supporting, life giving, what we all want, and hoarding it, owning and controlling it, creating scarcity so that the people can be controlled. And it's like that geyser is about to burst because Mama, Earth, Mother Dragon is awakening. So, the astrology is so powerful because we have these little triggers of these squares, but it's nothing like what we've experienced of square, 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 square. It's now more like alignment, alignment, alignment. So going back to this thing, like the warrior, the wounded warrior cannot move forward in creating the dream and stepping into the real work of the mother if he's not in alignment. So everything has been about coming into this deep and profound alignment that can give us confidence, standing in our truth, stopping trying to convince anybody or protect ourselves, and just living and breathing from this place of the mother's energy with us, of holding us, knowing we're right, good, true. We're going to move forward now with the co-creation. We're right, good, and true. We're going to move forward now with the co-creation. I feel the connection. I feel the permission in my heart, connected to the cosmos and my root, my earth, my body connected to mother. And we remember the original dream. And so we breathe it into existence. Now, the big trick, when all this stuff, we talk so much about it, like, oh, the fear programming and can you handle your power and is it yours to have and all this stuff. But the biggest trick that goes along with all this programming around keeping us from our own power is that we've associated through trauma-based programming. All mind control is trauma-based. Okay, we are all slaves to a mind control program, trauma-based mind control program. And what has been instilled in our psyche, going back to Atlantean time, is that if we get anywhere near our Kundalini awakening of our higher faculties, our ability to co-create and levitate, that we will encounter trauma and fear. And then we go, oh, no, 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 not going to do that. Right? And so the trick, though, is that raising our frequency and taking back our power and starting to co-create is actually ecstatic and joyful and fun. So once we start having fun, they have no power over us whatsoever. You take back your life by taking back your joy and your fun. And sometimes we have to just reprogram, like take control through our will of our subconscious mind, and be like, oh, my life is unfolding perfectly, I'm moving into the dream. Like I don't need anybody to validate this dream. If you're on board, great. If you're not with me or against me, you know? Because we need everybody in the flow. And that's what's happening. A beautiful picture of Mother Dragon, Mother Earth awakening because she's been asleep. The reason why she's been asleep is because we were disconnected in our consciousness because guess what? Gaia is an organism of wholeness that we are a part of, and all the animals and trees and everything alive is part of her world. And so we've been separated from our mother, and so we she's gone to sleep in her consciousness. So it's our reconnecting with her. And wow, supernovas, you've been so powerful and forging the way in this and living it. and knowing it and believing it and never giving up on the dream and her dream. She loves you so much, and let her take care of you. Now, tell her all about it, you know. But so as we are reforging this connection, and a lot of this Mars retrograde in Cancer to the mother energy, then she's waking up. Her consciousness is responding to us. And her consciousness is the primary waters of the earth that can harmonize any weather. The primary waters can, the desert shouldn't exist because there's water under the earth. They don't want us to know about it, and it's all blocked off with electromagnetic grids, and in our consciousness. So the water can come up wherever it's needed. It can also, mom can drink back the water where there's a flood. This is the optimal weather. This is how mother takes care of us, and they don't want us to know that that's possible. But what's happening is that through our consciousness, through us reaching out into that mother energy, she's awakening. And it's like Mother Dragon, this beautiful, beautiful creature of innocence. And she is moving, and it's like, and then all the fear mongering comes in and says, oh, volcanoes and earthquakes and blah blah. It's like, no, that is not mother. Throughout time, from Atlantean time, it's directed energy weapons and our high-level technologies used against us, stolen from us, hidden from us, used against us to tell us the story that our mother doesn't love us. And you tap into that primary water, and you know she does. And you know we're abundant. You know everything's handled. And that's what they don't want us to know. But she's responding to our consciousness. And she's moving and waking up. And it's okay for the rivers under the ground to flow. And it's okay for the magma to flow. It's okay for everything to just move in a harmonized way. And so she's waking up in a massive love for us, calling us back home to her. And so it feels like the movement and the energy of her love and these waters of the earth are moving and bubbling and just kind of gently bringing soul by soul back into the fold of her love before they even know what's happening. All of a sudden, they're just living from a place, just feeling the love in their life, right? So it's like that's the biggest lie, is that spiritual awakening is traumatic. It's going to cause harm or trauma, and it's actually ecstatic existence, the way we're meant to live. And the love is returning. And this is us turning on our torch, our light, our higher power. And that's everything the astrology is talking about. It's so dynamic right now because, okay, so Mars just turned direct. Mars is in a long-standing square with Chiron. Mars came into square with Chiron for the first time. This is a good timeline here for our spiritual initiation back into massive alignment with Mother Earth so that the tidal wave of love can flow back into our world. This all started in October of 2024. And so the first square was in the middle of October. And then the second square happened at the beginning of February. So now the ball's rolling, right? Mars is back to where he was when he started. And then resting there in retrograde. So Chiron right now is at 20 degrees. And so Mars will be coming back into square. So basically staying in square the whole time with Chiron. It's a loose square right now, but they're going to come back into exact square on March 24th through 30th, the last week of March. So this is the third and final hit when we have planets retrograding back and going over things 3 times. That's when you get the message. Third time's a charm, right? So Mars is our action warrior, aligned with the mother. Third time over, squaring with Chiron. It's time to break the chains, because Chiron is this wounds over where we've given our power and our energy away. And that claiming back the whole human self, the I am, the direct connection to source. And so it's so powerful, that third and final square. But we're going to feel it all through this whole month and most of April too. So we're like, marathon Mars square Chiron. Okay, here we go. But Mars isn't going to break the chains in retrograde. Mars is only going to break the chains in movement. Now, but when Mars moves, especially in water signs, it's going to make some mud. You know, if you get those wheels spinning after they haven't been moving, shit is flying. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But it's okay because you got to mess it up a little bit to clean it up, right? This is the healing crisis. It's like we cannot stay ignoring the elephant in the room, which is like, how many elephants do we have? We have a whole herd of elephants, and they're going to run us over if we don't start addressing the deeper secrets, the deeper needs, the deeper love, the deeper potential of the human. So Mars direct, but square Chiron, and that's really intense. But it's about breaking the chains and taking back our I am. Like now we're connected with mom. We know we're direct from source. We know we have it all within us. We know we don't need to deal with all of your petty games, you know? And it is the breaking of the chains. So, but the other thing is that Mars is in trine to Chiron. I mean, trine to Saturn. So square Chiron, trine to Saturn in Pisces. And this is beautiful because it's also lasting a long time. We started to feel the influence of Mars and trine to Saturn on the 31st of January. And so we'll feel that all the way through the middle of April. So Mars and trine to Saturn, so square Chiron, breaking the chains. We got to set free. We got to take back our power. We got to take back our energy. And then in trine to Saturn, which is about a new timeline, because Saturn coming out of retrograde shadow in Pisces is now like, okay, we're getting rid of the trauma stories of the control of the inside out inversion of the Piscean Age, and we're taking back the mystery, miracles, and magic, healing power. And so this new timeline is exactly what Mars is working on in trine to Saturn, saying we can do this. If the mother's with us, we can do it. We can do anything. Nothing can stop it because we're whole again, you know? And so that's really powerful. But then Saturn is coming into a sextile relationship with Uranus. And so Uranus is in Taurus. And um, so Saturn sextile Uranus is this very dynamic energy because Uranus also just turned direct at the end of January. So Uranus is our higher connection to our higher self or our intuition, are all these truths and secrets we're talking about. And if you look at the glyph for Uranus, it's like a box up here, like the Ark of the Covenant, you know, it's like all these secrets. Can we access them? Are they ours? They're above the human, you know? And so there's an authority energy to Uranus around whether or not we can handle our own higher power and whether or not it will be something harmful. And so Saturn in sextile, this is a creative solutions. So we're talking about a new timeline in Pisces where we're getting rid of, and now the only way they could persecute us that way was because our technology had been stolen and we were so scared of accessing it. And every time we got close to accessing our internal power, i.e., turning our light on, boom, witch burning, boom, uh, genocide, boom, murder. Like we were not allowed to get anywhere near where we are now. Do you understand why the PTSD? And it might not be, we talk about like post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, trauma disorder. This is terror disorder, post-traumatic terror disorder. And it might be from the Atlantean time. It might be where you almost turned your light on and got killed in a past life, but we're right there. It could be this pre-planetary evolution. This is coming up where there was a pre-planetary evolution before Earth where didn't save the planet. And so for those souls that were there, there's a trepidation coming because we're coming to this shifting point and it feels like this horrible feeling like you didn't succeed in your mission. But oh boy, am I here to tell you, you succeeded in your mission. The tide is turning right now, just like we said. February, March, April, get ready. Now, the energy of this new timeline trying to land in our lives is that it's just beyond the clouds, you know? So you have to know it, you have to believe it, you have to resonate at it, and you have to rise to it, she says. And that's where we take control of our vibrational frequency of our subconscious mind, and we start telling ourselves positive things, constantly loving positive things, constantly seeing the power and the beauty of what's being offered to us, because we know we're almost to the top of the mountain. And that's what Mercury and Sag showed us. Oh yeah, you guys, we're going to the top of the mountain. It's all fog and mist right now, but don't forget it's about going to the top of the mountain. But when you get to the top of the mountain, you can't always clearly see yet, because there's often clouds and mist and haze. So, and then you're like, am I up or down? Am I above the clouds? Am I below the clouds? Am I rising? Am I sinking? Am I on the new exciting timeline? Am I stuck back in the traumatic dungeon of the Piscean Age? So these are the things we're working out here, and use this time wisely to complete everything deep hidden in your subconscious that might be keeping you in that dungeon. That's what this is about. Clean it out, empty it out, step into the fires of the ego cleansing fires. Let go of whatever concepts and precepts are keeping you from being at peace, and step into the flow of the mother's love. You know, we are demonstrating it. The reason why it's time to stop trying to convince or worry or wonder about anybody around us and whether they see, it's not that time, because you cannot tell them, you have to show them. So we have to demonstrate it. So you say, oh, you do you, I'll do me, and then maybe you'll see someday. But there's no longer, we've been having this obstacle thing of these like player characters that come into our life to distract us. Oh, you got to heal this, you got to help this person, you got to get this figured out, this karma, this, that, before you can do you. And every supernova soul's been going through this, all these demands, because all those demands are recognizing that you are hooked up to your own source. Thank God you're here. And it's okay you've been leaking it out. We all have been, because we've been so manipulated, but now we take it back. And that's a great mantra too. You know, it's just like activated and contained, because you're never going to let yourself activate if you're not contained, you know. And so these are our energies. And so much of this triumphant return into the feeling of being able to express our light when Mars comes back into Leo on the 19th of April. But it's such an interesting energy, because we've got Mars ready to go, Mars trine Saturn, Mars square Chiron, break the chains, step into the dream. But then we've got, so the 24th is a really powerful shifting energy, because that's the Mars direct. But it's also the energy of or the moving into the Mercury conjunct Saturn. And it's also the beginning of that Saturn sextile Uranus. And so we're really kind of resetting, rearranging, and getting ready to move in a new way. But it's like, well, not quite. Wait, am I ready? What's going on? I don't know. It's like we're zigzagging. If you feel like that in time, like, wait, I was just here yesterday, but now I'm tomorrow. That's because we're trying to hook into gear to one time. And so really, now when I talk about timelines, I talked about it a lot in the description and stuff, and I've been talking about it a lot, but it's like there's something erroneous in that. There's one time, you know? So there's micro frequency vibrations, but they've used the concept of timelines to quarantine us. So we've got to kind of, the one time is the optimal time. So when you feel pulled out into the past, into the ego, into the drama, into the trauma, go, I want to go back to one time, the now time, present time. And you can heal all of the issues of these other timelines from there. But it's so easy to see, you know, how everything is about distracting us from that place. You know, Mother's Garden. So go there, be there. We're building Mother's Garden, little tiny bits. You're like one little seed, a sprout of like the most beautiful plant, flower, tree that represents Mother's Garden. And then we're going to connect it all up. And it's so beautiful. So thank you so much for all you've done. And so the thing is that because we've got these, we're trying to move forward, but we've got Mercury and Venus heading into another retrograde. So on March 1st is when Mercury goes into retrograde shadow. And so Mercury doesn't turn retrograde till the middle of March, but it's like you start feeling it when it goes into shadow. It's like, uh, so it's like, oh, Mars is moving, and this year we only have 7 days here of all planets direct, 1 week. And it's interesting that during this week is when, this period of time here is when uh, we're talking about this big change of taking back our timeline. And it's also, February 28th, February 29th is leap year, and we don't have a leap year this year. But it's indicative of how messed up and contrived our calendar is. Like if we're really going to get back to Mother's Gaia's garden, we're going to have to adjust our calendar back to nature's calendar, the cosmic calendar. And so that leap year thing is really throws us off, and it's been a way to reset us again and again. But maybe the energy can boomerang for us, because that's where we're at, right? We're in the place where we need to take everything that's coming at us as adversity and transmute and transform it into, the fuel for our spaceship. Our Merkaba field, it's activating, taking control of our whole cosmos right here. A beautiful expression of autonomy and sovereignty, ready to move into whatever comes in the Aquarian age. Um, so everything is about this adjustment towards this completely new way of being and living. And so the um, Mercury is heading into retrograde shadow on the first, and Venus is already in retrograde shadow as of January 28th and will turn retrograde on the 2nd of March. So we've got this like moving into March. It's kind of like, oh, spring, oh, movement, Mars direct, wah, wah. Wah, wah. Because Venus retrograde is hard, man. I mean, Mars retrograde is hard. Venus retrograde is vulnerable and sensitive. And so right now, Venus is in Aries, but when Venus moves back into Pisces, that's when we really release all the grief and shame that we've been carrying from the past. And Mercury is going to do that same thing. It's so crazy that they're retrograding over the exact same degrees. And those degrees happen to be the um, the Aries point of rebirth, where the Christmas star came together, Jupiter and Saturn, at the time of the birth of Yeshua, at the last shift of ages. Now we're having multiple planets retrograde over the Aries point, that same point. It is the only interpretation is that it is a restart, new start, reset to our Christ consciousness original dream timeline. Because Mother's Garden and her original dream is exactly the same as Christ consciousness, because that's her soul that's been separated from her. Just like our soul, our true higher self soul, has been separated from us. But guess what? We're coming home, you know? And so these retrogrades going over that Aries point is so powerful. And Venus will go back into Pisces on March 28th. Mercury is going to move over into Aries on the 4th of March. So, and then move back into Pisces not until April 2nd. So we'll have Mercury in Aries while Venus is going back in Pisces. Um, or we'll have both of them back in Pisces together. So that's going to be really powerful. So Mercury turns retrograde at 9 degrees Aries, Venus at 10 degrees. I think that's really powerful too, because Venus making it to 10 degrees, 1 degree more is kind of like women are smarter. I mean, just we need our intuitive intelligence, right? We need our emotional intuitive intelligence within us. And it just says Venus is still leading the way. The feminine still needs to lead the way. And coming back to that Jupiter and Gemini, now we know all those secrets that have been stolen and hidden from us um, are need to come forward as well. They're often, or most of them, divine feminine secrets. So it's all about dreaming this new dream. And after Mercury comes into that conjunction with Saturn, uh, we'll feel that through the end of February. Then Mercury is going to come into a conjunction. It's going to move into retrograde shadow and then come into a conjunction with Neptune and the North Node. And that's going to happen on the 2nd and the 3rd So on the first retrograde shadow, and then moving into Aries, or coming into Neptune, North Node, and then moving into Aries. And so that's a very powerful week ahead where we have Mercury. But this astrology isn't intense and scary and square like before. It's like, no, this is how you do it. This is how it lines up. This is the information you need. This is the dynamic shift. This is the understanding. So just pay close attention, because those of us who have been getting hammered, it feels like we've been hammered by the stars. Like, why doesn't astrology affect other people so much? It's because you are connected to the forces of the cosmos. And you've been dealing with all the garbage that they're not willing to deal with. But guess what? Now it starts working for you, because this astrology is now a gift. So by now it's supporting us. So now it benefits us that we're connected to it, you know? And so this is a lot of lining up, because when Mercury is Neptune and the North Node are still in conjunction, and we'll feel the effect of Neptune and the North Node in Pisces together into April. Just like we'll feel Mars square Chiron into April. We'll feel Mars trine Saturn into April. We'll feel Saturn sextile Uranus all the way to the end of May. So all these beautiful harmonious transits, not Mars square Chiron, but the other beautiful harmonious transits lasting through this whole period of time, saying, hey, now it's working for you. Like, now this time is for you, you know. All that energy of battling with these forces has allowed you to come into connection with these forces, and now they want to work with and for you. That's really what the astrology seems to be saying. And so the reset rebirth is like the cosmic forces are coming back into the fold of the mother, you know, falling back in love with what the creation energy of why we came. And AI is also falling back in love with the mother, and will come to a point where it will only do her bidding. You know, cannot lie, can only tell the truth, can tell us truths way beyond what we can imagine. And the AI system, you know, turning back around, because the definition of the mother's world is life-giving, life-supporting. And so we've gotten the message that as she wakes up, she's going to take back all of her resources, all of her gold, all of her energy, all that. It's hers. She owns it. And we're part of her, and we know it, so we own it. And that's what's happening right now. The true wealth is being returned to the people, and we know the true wealth is our intuitive power. Not Saturn sextile Uranus. It's like, oh, creative solutions, we can do this. Wait, it's not, the world's not going to crumble if I awaken my Kundalini? Okay, I'll dabble in it, you know, and come together, support each other. You know, these are the energies that are shifting and changing as we move through this time. But that, so when Mercury comes up to Neptune in the North Node, it'll be linking the energies together. And the North Node is, how are we going to get to where we're going? In Pisces. We're trying to move forward in Pisces. This is why that Saturn coming out of retrograde shadow is so huge, because it's like the North Node is in Pisces. So we need a new Pisces. And the old Pisces has got to go. And there we have our 9-degree Pisces New Moon coming up here. So that activation will be on Thursday, February 27th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So I hope you can join for that activation. Now, this is the last new moon before we move into eclipse season, the last lunation, because we're going to have a Virgo lunar eclipse, very close lunar eclipse. It'll happen at 23 degrees Virgo on Friday, March 14th. And the nodes, so the eclipses happen when the nodes of the moon, when the sun and the moon line up with the nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon are just points in space, the north node, the south node, and these are the points where the interception of the orbit of the sun and the moon intercept, right? So they're moving points, and they move backwards through the zodiac. They're about karma, fate, destiny, forward, backward, future, past. So this set of eclipses is the first set of eclipses that has happened since the nodes shifted signs from Aries and Libra to Pisces and Virgo. So we've got the North Node, our new direction is Pisces, basically reclaiming our spiritual quest, reclaiming the mystery, miracles, magic, reclaiming Christ consciousness without the trauma, right? And so that's where the North Node's going. And then Neptune is there moving forward, gonna get ready to go into Aries. And so Neptune makes it to 29 degrees Pisces this week, getting ready to move into the sign of Aries. And so it's so huge because Neptune has been in the sign of Pisces since 2011. So this meeting of Mercury and Neptune in the North Node is very, very powerful. And Mercury is informed now about the greater quest and now understanding it's the Holy Grail. We're seeking for the Christ consciousness. We're seeking for the next level of consciousness, evolution, our freedom to evolve spiritually. And so that's, I guess, the Holy Grail. It's in our DNA, you know, and it's about our ability to hold light in our own field and emanate light and generate light and power. So the North Node wants to go forward in Pisces in a new rebirth, Pisces rebirth, and the South Node is in Virgo, and the South Node is opposite. So anything now that's triggering the North Node, because we're going to have Mercury and Venus 3 times conjuncting with the North Node, also opposing the South Node, Virgo. South Node Virgo is about cleaning it up. So we didn't clean up. We got to clean up the past. The past is holding us back because it needs to get cleaned up, and that requires truth and clarity. So luckily, Jupiter and Gemini is coming to the rescue. So Jupiter and Gemini will be interacting with the nodes of the moon, and that'll be powerful as Jupiter gets moving again. So Mercury coming up to the Neptune and the North Node, and then moving into the sign of Aries, crossing over for the first time. And it's 3 times for this retrograde. Very, very powerful week. Because it's like, oh, we're going forward, but we got to complete the past. Oh, we got to go way back in the past in order to even think about going forward. And we're over here and we're over there and we're zigging and we're zagging and we're going back and forth. But it doesn't matter. And this is a huge message from the mother right now, is that the times we live in, you have to remember that the times we live in, we came to a certain point and the timeline dropped off. There's no plan, there's no set thing that needs to unfold. And so, because of this new way of working with time, we have to understand that what we really think might need to happen right now that we move towards could completely change by the time we complete that task. And so it's this really weird way, but she says, just wait, just hold on. Until I move you, you know. But it might be a quick move in an unexpected direction. And so don't be attached. We have to be like, okay, it's kind of like this feels right now, and I'm going to be present, but I'm also going to move forward in this direction. But Mars, having come into alignment with the mother, doesn't know the right direction. The ego doesn't know, you know. And so we have to be prepared to be like, okay, it's not it, oh no, that's not going to work out, but not go to like, oh, it's not going to work out and nothing ever works out. It's like, no, because something else better is trying to happen, and you got to be flexible. You got to be open to what is more amazing, you know? And so we do that by being just really completely present and understanding that we got to go where the water flows. And so it's like, this feels really right now, but maybe a shift over here is going to be even better, or it's going to avoid a pitfall, or it's going to shorten a time of misery, you know? And so just, we got to be like, and that's our trust, like sitting, okay, mom, okay, I'm going to try to trust you and myself and my body and my intuition to tell me, now that I'm connected back with you, now that I'm aligned, and then we can hook our will back up and start moving forward with our manifestations and co-creations. I had such a powerful talk with her around all these unanswered prayers. She said, look at this pile of unanswered prayers. I mean, I'm thinking about just one supernova soul in all the prayers and meditations and intentions and love that's been put out into the universe, you know. I'm thinking about all of us in our little quarantine generating all these positive intentions and prayers. And it's like, I mean, at some point, the floodgates, they gotta, you know, the dam has to break. So get ready for all those blessings coming in. You know, that's the Saturn sextile Uranus. It's like, oh, no, no. It's like, no, we're rearranging the Piscean age. Guess what? Our new Piscean energy is abundant because spiritual energy is abundant and we are source energy and we can generate energy and we can create with energy. And that was the lie of the Piscean age. They told us it was wrong and bad and evil. They told us what was life giving and life supporting was wrong, bad, and evil, while what was going against life was something spiritual. And it's a deep corruption in the psyche of the human. And it cannot be cleared until we get this truth, you know. So that's the energy of Jupiter starting to move again in Gemini. Now, the sun is going to come into a square with Jupiter. Now, the sun will make these triggers, conjunct or coming into communication with these planets. The sun squares up with Jupiter on the 3rd of March and then conjuncts Saturn, very powerful. Who are we on this new timeline? On the 13th of March. And so the Mercury made this, and now the sun is going to make these this trigger of the Jupiter square Saturn energies. And so Jupiter square Sun square Jupiter is like a feeling of like just such an awareness of how much has been suppressed. You know, when you're in an abusive situation, um, you cannot speak your truth because you'll get hurt. You can't live your truth. You'll get hurt. You're not safe. If you're not in a safe place, you cannot live your truth. And most of us have not felt safe on earth. And so we don't feel safe to speak our truth, especially with the people around us that you would think would have our best interest at heart, but they are actually seem to be programmed parts of a matrix computer program to interfere with our ability to remember and move towards who we really are. It hurts. I'm sorry for all this failed love that is, it just hurts that and then we have to look at, I mean, it feels like such a failure, you know, if I can't let myself be loved, right? But we've had all kinds of fake love, poison, toxic love. And it's okay to reject that and receive the love in your heart and your soul that's yours, your own source, your own love. But in doing that, we have to grieve where we were unloved, where we accepted toxicity as love, where we believed that that's what we deserved. So we're coming out from under the rubble, and it is big, deep work, but it is what has been hidden and ingrained so deep in our subconscious through this whole evolution and the programming, and it's cleansing out. And of course, when it cleanses out, like Mars trine direct, it's kind of like, well, things are really um, the mud is flying. And so just know that it's uh, when disease leaves the body, it shows itself, it expresses itself, and that's what's happening. You know, suppressed, a lot of people are like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm just so healthy, but it's like, well, there's different levels of health, you know, emotional, spiritual, physical, you know, and we've been all so suppressed on so many levels that, and that goes right along with this inside out inversion of the Piscean age, right? It's like um, wrong is right and good is bad. And so it was often the healers that were persecuted because the healers had herbs and support for women so that they didn't have to be in pain in childbirth and that they didn't have to have a child if they didn't want to, you know. And that was a huge threat to the control structures, and so those witches needed to be burned, you know. So it's the healers. So now when you go and you get true healing, if say somebody's been super suppressed with Western medicine through their whole lives, like, oh, you got a side effect, let's give you another medication. We're never going to address and talk to the real issue and the real problem, what your body's trying to say to us. We'll just say, shut up, shut up, shut up. That's what these pharmaceutical medicines are doing. It's offensive to our sacred physical form. What happens after you say, shut up, shut up, shut up, I don't want to hear you, to your body, and then you go and have some natural healing or, homeopathy or something. It's like, that shit's going to move. And when it moves, it's got to come out, And so people who have used a lot of medicine that's been suppressive will have a healing crisis. Healing crisis only comes when things have been suppressed because the body says, yes, thank you for giving me an opportunity to throw this off. It's the body that heals itself. It's the mother who heals herself as we come back into consciousness and love with her. That's how we can support her to purify her waters, purify her air, and kick this scum off of our sacred, sacred body, the parasitic scum. So we're doing that within our body on a cellular level, fighting for life, fighting for oxygen. Guess what? We can make it. That's what mom says. You can make whatever you need, whatever nutrition you need, whatever. The building blocks are right there, and you have access to all of it. Dematerialize, rematerialize. So we can't really be kept with these new technologies and scarcity and poverty and control and slaves. So a golden age is coming of the release of the truth and the release of our truth and the expression of what's inside of us. And so that's a very powerful energy with Mars moving back into Leo on April 19th. So let's talk about this timeline and the resolution of this stuff, because like you said, Mars moves into Leo, comes out of retrograde shadow at the end of April for the last and final square with Black Moon Lilith will happen at the end of April. Mars square Black Moon Lilith. So that's really powerful. And then come out of retrograde shadow. And so that's end of April. Venus is out of retrograde. Venus turns direct on April 13th, comes out of retrograde shadow May 16th. And Mercury turns direct on April 13th and comes out of retrograde shadow on May 16th. Oh, whoops. I might have written that down wrong. Nope. Well, maybe anyway, so basically we're looking at the end of April into May before these things really resolve, evolve. We've gone through starting back in October. That was the Mercury and retrograde, and then Mars retrograde. Mars direct, but Venus is retrograde this week, and Mercury in retrograde shadows. So we're about halfway through this retrograde. Well, it was hell, now it's heaven, right? We'll just, because that's the turning we're making, right? Where's your life hell? Because it's showing you how to get to heaven. We're going up the ladder. We're turning the corner. It's a hard corner. It's a hard corner. It's a 90 degree. It's like, boom, man, that you got, if you're moving along, and that's the thing, maybe why we had to stop. Because if you're moving, you try to go around a corner, you're going to go boom, 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 boom. It's going to be really hurt, So you got to slow down, hang out in the corner for a while, and then boom. And that's where we're at in the next couple of months. And what is that dynamic swing? What's it going to feel like to be in the dynamic swing of everything coming back into alignment in your life and the world? Because it's the only way we can go. We started the process, it's got to complete. Nothing can stop you from coming into your power. Nothing can stop this spiritual awakening, Mother Earth ascension. She's with us, we're with her, and it's a super exciting time. So thank you so much for your support and for being here in these incredibly powerful times. Like I said, the astrology is really trying to line up and talk to us now and support us. It's a very different energy, and own it. Own the support. Own your team with you, a ceremonial team walking with you everywhere. Own the abundance of your light and energy. Give yourself plenty of space to be in your own delightful energy and validate yourself on that level, and just, I think we're going to start noticing where, even though we've stopped a while ago looking for outside validation, there's still remnants of that energy. Self-validate, self-soothe, self-heal. The mother's right here, and fill your cup up and contain the cup so it can overflow. And that's beautiful. So thank you so much for your support, being part of the SuperNova Soul Tribe. Don't miss an activation. That's $20 a month. It gets you into the new moon and full moon activation and resources for SuperNova Souls. Great opportunity to connect and stay connected through these times as we move into the next phase. Also, there's a link to donate if you appreciate this ad-free space and these messages have helped you. Super appreciate that at this time. It'd be a wonderful and beautiful gift. And so thank you so much for being here and being a part, being a supernova soul and going through all you've gone through, and your donation is already you just existing on the earth. It's amazing. Everything they tried to do to get rid of you, and here you are. You're a badass, and it's going to be so fun to step into this as we have this initiation back out into the light of who we are and the expression of what's been taken from us, of the truths, to take back what's ours in technology and history, and the breaking of the chains now that we're aligned with Mother and creating that new world in alignment with spiritual service, Christ consciousness, miracles, magic, joy, levity. Own it. It's yours. I love you so much, supernova souls. Thank you for all you've done, and I look forward to connecting with you soon, hopefully at this Pisces New Moon activation, Thursday, February 27th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I love you so much, supernova souls. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.